All right, welcome to 2A Radio TV. This is the Business and Economic Forum. I'm the host, and my name is Willie Dillon. I have my co-host, Mr. Alex Choo Choo Jones, and the guest today is Mr. Borpi Bopled. I'm going to let each person give a little spew before we roll into the actual program. So, Choo Choo, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Dylan. I'm happy to be here with such a distinguished gentleman, a very brilliant expert in insurance and financial services, and I hope to be learning a lot from him. Thank you for having me. And I have a lot of tough questions today too. So,
Thank you. Good afternoon, gentlemen, and good afternoon to your audience out there as well. My name is Borbi Brople, and of course, I'm originally from Liberia, just like the rest of you guys are. I've been in the financial services industry for nearly 2 decades, and my passion is helping people. Okay, I want to make sure that our community has the knowledge and financial wisdom that we need to navigate these tough times that we're in right now. Thank you.
And that's great. That's great. Okay, so our topic today is being your own boss, all right? Getting started in the insurance industry or the insurance business. So, Mr. Borpi, I'm sorry, Mr. Bople, I'm sorry. If you can please,
That's
just let
fine.
us know going forward, what does it take to get started in this industry? What do you recommend as being such a long serving member, a person in this industry? Can you tell us more about how does one get started in this industry from scratch?
Yeah, yeah, certainly. And Willie, you can just call me Borby. I consider you guys friends. So, look, the financial services industry is one of the highest paid industries in the world right now. And I just been blessed to be part of it for such a long time. I've done banking, I've done credit cards. I've worked in financial centers where we interacted with mortgage professionals, financial advisors, and then also small business bankers. So and now I'm in the insurance industry primarily, and it's a blessing. Right now, why would anybody want to get into insurance? Because is the barrier of entry is very low. It's easy to get in. Okay, number one. Number two, the timing is perfect. Since 2020 with the pandemic, you know, life insurance sales has multiplied. Okay, tremendously. And because of that, uh, insurance companies are still backlogged, okay, trying to catch up. So what better time to be in an industry like this? And those are the reasons why I would give anybody, I would advise anybody that wants to maybe work from home like I do, work in multiple states. I work in about 32 states, okay, just with the power of Zoom. um I get a chance to spend time with my kids, my family. I control my own time. I make a pretty good income, and I think those are the reasons that I would. And obviously if you like helping people, okay, because financial services right now involves a lot of literacy. We do a lot of webinars and workshops, and we meet with different groups. um, I always have people asking me questions, and I'm happy to share the knowledge that I have with people. And so those are the reasons why I would advise somebody to get into financial services, specifically life insurance at this time.
Okay, okay. So, is there any barrier to entry? Can I just wake up this morning and say I want to get into insurance and then I'm in, or does it require any form of licensing or certification, schooling? What do I need if I wanted to join? Because I'm considering this too. So, I'm sure a lot of our viewers want to know, just looking at
Yeah.
the economic situation in the country. So please tell us, what do you need to get started?
Well, yes, there are some requirements to get started. Some state requirements. This is the financial services industry, so you're probably aware that there's regulation, right? Um, for instance, you do need to get licensed. The license is one of the simpler licenses to acquire, if I may say so, meaning that it doesn't take a lot of studying. In fact, the study program that I recommend to a lot of people, it's a 30-day study program. It's online. Yeah, it's online. You go in and you start studying at your own pace. And usually folks within 2 weeks are done. The fastest I've seen is somebody do it in 3 days, but normally, if you're a working person, especially if you have a family with kids, then you want to give yourself 2 to 3 weeks, just to get through the material, and boom, the next step once you pass that is to go sit down and take the test at a testing facility. And this testing facility is pretty much the same place that anybody else that's taking a test goes to, like nurses, when you're doing your state board tests and whatnot. You have Prometrics is one big company. You have Pearson VUE is another big company. In fact, in many states, they even allow you to take the test from home, as long as you have a webcam, you have stable internet, a clear room like what you have there. They're very strict with it if you're taking it from home, because they don't want you to, obviously they don't want the test to be compromised. Let me just be diplomatic there. Okay, so you do the study course if you're in a state that requires it. Some states don't require a formal study, so basically you can get a book, or you can get a buddy's study class program online, go through that, and you go take the test. Some states don't require you to have the state that I'm in, Georgia, and most states do require a 52-hour study class. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So you get that, you sit the state exam, you pass it. Most states require a 70%. I think that's a C minus. Once you pass, you're in. The next step would be to get some states require fingerprinting and a state background check. You go through that, and then the last step is to actually acquire your license. You pay for your license from the state. It's the cost is different from state to state. In Georgia, it's $120 for the license for 2 years. But then you have a state like Michigan where it's $10. So it varies. Okay.
Okay.
Wow, that's really reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Some states, most states are $100 on average. $100 for 2 years. Some states, I think North Carolina, I think it's they don't have a time limit. Once you purchase it's kind of costly. I think it's about $190, but it doesn't expire. Yeah, so don't quote me on that, but I need to check. I believe it doesn't expire, even though it's a little bit pricey. But most other states will expire after 2 years.
Yeah. Okay, so the one thing you said that was very intriguing to me, and I just wanted you to elaborate a little bit more on, was usually when you talk to insurance, personnel or people in the insurance industry, they usually tell you, I'm licensed in 50 states. And I'm wondering, in my mind, I always wonder, they've been working in 50 different states at the same time. So please let us know, how is it possible that someone can be licensed in 50 states? Is it 50 tests you take, or how does that work?
Excellent question. Thank you for that, Willie. No, you don't have to take a test in 50 states. You just take one test in your resident state. Okay.
Wow, okay.
Once you get that, it's 100% reciprocity, meaning that every other state will give you the license if you can show that you're licensed in your home state. All you have to do is
Okay.
pay for it. So it's reciprocal. Okay. It's a little different, I believe, in real estate and law, where you may have to do some extra courses if you try to get licensed in another state. Life insurance is very simple. You take one test and that's it.
Okay. 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 All right. What you
Now
do?
with the advent of Zoom, it's easy for me to meet with somebody on Zoom, even if they're in another state. They could be in Alaska. I could still meet with them
Mhm.
as long as they have, Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Google Meets, whatever you
Yeah.
choose
Yeah.
to use.
So, Bobby, I have a question for you. Obviously, and the reason someone would do this, they like to help people, but also to make money. What
Yes.
we say is the range of income one can expect within after taking the test and maybe a first, second year. Could you give
Okay.
us kind of ballpark if you did this full time? How
Yeah.
much should you be bringing home annually?
Excellent question, and I get that a lot. It depends, I would say. Okay. It depends on several things. Number one, are you a captive agent working for some company, like State Farm or Transamerica or any one of these insurance companies? You mentioned AIG earlier. Those are all insurance companies. Do you
Mhm.
work for them exclusively, or are you non-captive? Meaning, like for me, I'm non-captive. So I basically am able to write business with multiple carriers. Does that make sense?
You're right, right.
So, I mean, if
So you
obviously
kind
if
of
you
like, so you kind of like, how they have these travel agents that can book for any.
exactly,
Okay.
yeah, you don't work for Delta, but you can book somebody
Book.
on a Delta flight, KLM, whatever. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's sort of like that. So it depends. The second thing you have to look at is how much time somebody is putting into this business. A lot of people do it as a side business, okay, where the time that you put in varies dramatically. But I would say, you know, they say most of America, about half of the population, makes less than $30,000 a year.
Mhm.
If you get into life insurance and you put in a full 40 hours a week, your income will far exceed 30,000 a year.
Hmm.
Okay. In fact, most people that put in full time in this business are able to make more than what they made at their old job. 30, 40, 50,000. You make more than that. Now, that's on the low end. On the high end, um, especially if you are a broker like myself and you're building an agency, uh then the income, there's no ceiling to how much money you can make. It all depends on how big your agency is. So let's say, for example, you have offices in 10 different states.
Mhm.
Maybe you have about 20 agents, 30 agents. You're looking at making a substantial amount of income. There are some agents that make upwards to seven figures.
Mhm.
Okay.
Hmm.
And
Which is like a
you know
million.
yeah, you're making basically you're making $1 million in income,
Okay.
Right.
just in this business alone. So there's opening life insurance policies for people is one thing that you can do with this license. Another thing is actually helping people to roll over their money. Like maybe somebody has an old 401k. They have $500,000 in there and they have left their job, and maybe they've moved to a new job, or they have retired, you know, or any type of termination. Maybe they got fired or they just quit. You're able to take that 401k for that person and move it into another vehicle. So your
Okay.
life license allows you to move that into an annuity, for instance,
Right.
where they can
Mm.
keep the money there and it grows. So those are some of the things that you have access to as a life insurance agent.
Could you break down Nuado a little bit? Because I know a lot of times people watching this show and they're not acquainted with the vocabulary. So what
Yeah.
is annuity and how could they benefit from it?
Okay. Very good. Annuity is an insurance product. It's offered by insurance companies to kind of help your viewers understand what it is better. Think about a pension. Most people know what a pension is basically where you put money aside, or your company puts money aside for you.
Mhm.
When you retire, they give you income every single month for the rest of your life. Okay, that's how a pension works. A pension is actually an annuity.
Yeah.
Okay, now you
It's
can set
fixed.
up a personal pension plan, which is where you go to a life insurance agent and say, hey, I have some money that I inherited from my grandparents, or from the sale of a home,
Mhm.
or maybe you got involved in a wreck and you got a settlement check. And what can I do with this money? Okay, a life insurance agent can take that money and put it into an annuity, and you basically have two options. You could depending on your age, of course, you could say, hey, I'm still young. I want this money to grow for 5, 7, or 10 years. Okay, and then I'll figure out what to do with it after the annuity period is over. Or for certain people who are of a certain age, they could say, look, I want to put this money in, and I want to start drawing income from this money every single year. How much am I going to get for this money? And the agent will calculate and tell you how much you're going to get. So that's, those are two ways that you could do it. Either immediately or defer for later.
So kind of like you win the lottery and you can take a lump sum and you get a monthly check until you die. Similar, is that
Yes.
okay?
If you decide to take to you can annuitize the lottery winnings, or you can take lump sum.
Okay,
Right? So there's two ways you could do it. You could tell them that I just want to draw income forever. That's an annuity.
right,
Or you can take your money out. By the way, you can take your money out and still go put it into into your annuity, because I
right,
believe with the lottery, if you take the annuity option, and if God forbid if you die, I don't think your family gets the rest of the money. So
right. They
um,
don't.
it might
And the
they don't
annuity,
get.
Bobby, the annuity. So you get a fixed interest rate, correct? Or do you get a variable interest rate? So let's use an example. You have 100K, you inherited, or in the case of most African government, you stole, and you say, you know what, I'm not going to be working, so I want some money every month. So would they pay you an interest rate on 100K and annuitize it over X amount a year, or for life? Can you give us a scenario, real world scenario with an amount?
Yeah. I mean, if you came into some money, um, there are two types of annuities. Well, there's actually three types of annuities. There are multiple types, but you mentioned variable interest rate or fixed interest. You could have annuity give you variable, which means
Mhm,
it's basically invested in the stock market,
mhm,
right? And or you could have a fixed index annuity, which means it's invested in an index, and you have a floor of 0%, meaning
mhm.
you're never gonna go negative. So for
Okay.
instance, 2022 was a tough year. And then, by the way, this is just for educational purposes, especially with regards to variable, because I'm not licensed
Right.
to sell variable product. You need a securities license for that.
Okay.
But just by way of information, that's how a variable annuity will work. Think of the money being invested in the stock market.
Mhm.
So if the stock market goes bad, then your money is going to go down. Now, granted, some of them have, certain floors or
Mhm.
certain lock-ins, where they'll say maybe, if the stock market goes down, up to 10%, we will absorb it. If it goes more than that, then you will absorb that. Some of them have some mechanisms in there. But if you are, if your risk, class, your risk temperament, if it's not high, and you want to make sure you don't lose anything, then you're probably looking at talking, to an agent, getting a fixed index annuity where your money can grow to a certain level. I mean, at a certain interest rate, but you don't lose anything. It has a 0% floor.
Okay. And usually, what do you get? You get the market rate, interest rate. Like I know right now it's around 4 5% annually, and then that is dispersed monthly to you. So like $100,000, that would be $5,000 interest. How does that work? How much will you actually get back every month to live on if you put that amount of money in an annuity?
Oh, well, they're different calculations. I don't want us to get too much into the weeds of how. I can see you're a very technical person, Mr. Jones. But not to get too much into the weeds. Think of it this way. Um, there are some annuities that have averaged way over 4 or 5%. I'm talking about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%.
Okay.
Okay. In fact, when you get an annuity, an agent, will probably show you three different scenarios. One, they'll show you how this has performed, a specific index or blend. They'll tell you how it's performed over the last 20 years. If you take the best 20 years, okay, then they might do, the worst performance over the last 20 years, and then somewhere like an average. So you could have that. Now nobody knows how the index is going to perform in the future. You
Right.
just looking at what happened in the past.
That.
So kind of get an idea. I mean, you can look at the worst performance. Okay, if everything goes really bad, at least maybe I'll get this, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's how that would work. But you want to sit down with somebody, a very good financial professional. They'll do something called a financial needs analysis. That's where they will look at, every angle of your finances, and then they will come up with a plan. That plan will determine what type of annuity you're going to get, if you are to get one, what type of life insurance you're going to get, and all of that kind of stuff. I also do, I help people with debt management as well, right?
Mhm.
Because that's another big component of financial services, especially working with regular American families or regular families living in America. Debt is a problem. Debt multiplies very fast, faster than most people think. Those interest rates, can be a real kicker. So you have
Mhm.
to watch those. We help people strategize on how there's strategies to get rid of debt, and we
Mhm.
help people with those strategies as well. Or a good financial professional should be able to help you with that.
Okay, okay. Borbe, uh, one thing I would say is that I'm focusing today on,
Mhm.
someone getting in the business. So this question that I'm about to give you is more along the lines of in case someone was getting into business. So
Mhm.
I would I would like to ask you this question because I know, you say you have an agency, so you've trained people, you've had to hire people and things of that nature, right? So what
Yes.
skill set? Yeah. So what skill set would you say is needed, right? Or separates?
Okay.
Let's take the time factor out. Let's say this person is putting in the requisite 40 hours, right? What differentiates a $30,000 earner from the seven-figure earner? What qualities would you say that a person needs to have or they need to hone, which is to develop in order to be successful and be a top earner in this industry, based on your
Okay. All
experience?
right. Based on my experience, there's several components to that. Because while this is the insurance industry, it's also a business, right? So for I build businesses. That's what I do.
Mm,
So if somebody needs to work with me, for instance, or the type of life insurance that I do, they would just need to be somebody that has integrity, okay? Because you're basically working with people's finances and working, you're playing with people's lives here, right? So there's a high degree of integrity that's needed, and people skills. You gotta like
mm,
people, okay?
mm.
If you're somebody that doesn't like talking to people, well, this is a people business. It's going to be
Right.
a problem, right? So, I
Mm.
mean, if you have those two things, to be coachable is another thing where you're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, you somebody has been down this road and they want to show you how to get from point A to point B. Okay, that will differentiate somebody that's going to be successful and somebody that's mediocre. So
Mm.
if that makes any sense. Um, so yeah, those are now everything else can be learned. You can learn the products, you can learn uh other skill sets like follow up. How do you follow up with people? Um, you can learn how to present like in front of a big group. You can learn everything, and we can teach you everything. Well, we can't teach you integrity. Would you agree? You don't
Okay.
have it, or
I
you
agree.
don't.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone should have taught you that a long time ago before you before you got this far. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
And when you
and
talk
people.
about integrity, I mean, just to break it down for our audience, it means that if I was doing Dylan's insurance or debt management, wherever, I'm not going to go
Mhm.
take his information and call you on the phone and say, wow, Dylan has a lot of debt or he has a lot of money, or me and Dylan make flour. You know what I mean? That's also because a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
times people think that integrity doesn't mean stealing. What it means is that I'm talking to you on your personal finances, or, I'm not going to go out there and share that information with anybody else.
yeah,
So
yeah,
so
yeah. Absolutely. That's a big part of integrity, man.
yeah.
People's privacy, their
Right.
financial privacy is essential. In fact, sometimes when I'm working with people that are very close to me, I don't do it. I would hand them up. I would hand them off to somebody else,
Right. Right.
just to just so they're more comfortable, because that's one of the biggest things, when you're working with family and friends in insurance, is they may not want to share everything with you. In
Yeah.
fact, some of them will tell you that they don't want to work with anybody, they want to work with you.
Right.
But usually I found that it's just to get more information about something, and then they go
Just
actually do it with somebody else. So that's integrity. Another part is, I mean, obviously, nobody knows everything. If somebody asks you a question and you're not sure, don't give them a false answer just to give them an answer, right? Tell them, hey, that's a very good question. I like to be 100% sure of an answer before I give it.
Right.
I'm 90% sure of this answer, so I will go and get some information and get back to you on it. Something like that.
Mhm.
But don't go lie to the president.
President.
And yeah, so those are just, and then recommend services and products based on what somebody needs,
Mhm.
not based on what's going to pay you a higher commission.
Right.
Okay, that's integrity. That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
And people, if you do things in your own interest, people will find out,
Right.
sooner or later, and that hurts your brand. It hurts your
Correct.
business. Speaking of branding, there are different ways to market yourself in terms of this insurance industry or any other industry. Some people are able to get out and brand themselves very well. That also helps to determine, how much income you can make here.
Mhm.
Or if the highest earners in financial services usually are not the people that are writing the policies and meeting with clients, but are the people who are growing an agency. Okay, like I will look for good high quality people. I will recruit them into my organization, and then I will train them. Okay, and imagine, you know you training about 100 to 200 people, um and these people are all part of your agency. Well, that means your income is going to be so much more, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So there,
Yeah.
so you have some people who are in the financial services industry, uh, who are more focused on building a business rather than being an agent, if that makes any sense. I spoke to a lady once, who ended up joining my team, and I was training her, but she actually trained CNAs. Okay, she had a
Mhm.
training. That's what she did. She had a school that trained CNAs, and it was in a low income area. So she confided to me that a lot of the people that she trained could not even afford the course. She had to help
Mhm.
so many young ladies to train. And then I told her, I said, okay, how many people have you trained? She said, oh my God, I have trained over 500 people. I said, what do you get from those people now? She said, oh, nothing. They're gone. They got their jobs and stuff. I said, if you're a good trainer and you get into the financial service industry, uh, all these people will be part of your organization. So you will make a lot of money. If you train 500 people, you should be a millionaire by now. She said, wow. So just that kind of thinking. The average person, though, out there is probably just trying to get some additional income. Okay. Um, I mean, what would your life look like if you're a regular person, trying to survive? You got your kids, you got inflation, and you could get an extra $1,000 every month. I mean, Chichu, that's a big deal.
Oh,
That could be a
absolutely.
Yeah,
game. That could be a game changer for some people. That's 12. That's an
yeah,
additional $12,000 a year. That could do
Right.
quite
yeah.
a lot.
I mean, that would help out with the rent. It will give you a little bit of a breather. So most people are just looking for that. How can I just earn something extra?
Right.
Okay.
And it also helps you because I remember working in the financial services when you have at least a life insurance, because all of the big banks have these products, especially if you're financial ISA, financial, in any kind of financial services industry. Having a life insurance license is a big deal. You
Mhm.
can get actually more money because these companies will even sponsor you. If you're a banker, you're a teller, you're a personal banker, they want to
Mhm.
sell their products. I'm not boasting, but I started my career with JP Morgan, right? And I was a banker. And we used to sell products, mortgages, insurance, whatever the case may be. And I was one of the top 100 for the time I was there at JP Morgan Chase in the country in terms of sales of product. And even when I left that job, I was still receiving a check for about 3 months because they pay you for the last quarter, the last month based on the sales. But just as simple as calling this person and looking, after dealing with the finances and just asking them, hey, do you want to refinance? Hey, would you like this annuity products and so forth? And the person say yes, you get paid. You get paid extra. Yeah. So it's a good career booster, for any young person who, studying finance, business, to get that insurance license or at least get the exposure. And I think the second thing is also, and which is why we do these shows, is like you said, you got to be a people person. Most Liberians cannot communicate, or they're afraid of the camera shy. They have very low
I don't know if
antisocial.
I don't know about
at least the ones that well, the ones I deal with, what I mean, they are comfortable with the people in the community and the family that will run all their mouth. But you tell them come on a show like this and meet Mr. Buble, and they're like, oh, no. Or they have a discussion about this product and so forth. So those things, I think, and you can attest to it better, the reason why I believe you're so successful and you're making a lot of money. Hopefully you fund my campaign at some point.
Is that what it's about?
I will be coming for campaign contribution. I'll be coming for campaign contribution. But I think the reason why you're so successful is because of your interpersonal skills, your communication, you're likable. You can go on any platform anytime with a moment's notice. You express yourself very well. And those are skills that Liberians, even if they have the education, even if they have the MBA, they don't have. That's what I meant by the ability to go and interact with new people who don't, who not your buddies, people who don't share, from your tribe or who are not even Liberians. You got to go out to functions that other people there and say, hey, I'm so-and-so person, nice to meet you. What do you do for a living? I sell these products. And I think can you speak to that?
Yeah, I don't know whether you wanted to.
Before you get into that, let me just say that I agree that what I gather from you is that you have to have some sort of leadership skills. But and part of leadership skills would be communication skills. And I agree with you, Chuchu. But what I would add to that is communication skills are things that can be learned. They can be honed. It's not something you're just born with and you come out your mom and then you start talking. No, there's something that if you're coachable, like Mr. Buble said here, or you can develop these skills and you can do what he does too. So can you speak on that, Mr. Buble?
Yeah. There's a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Have you heard of that book? Yeah. That book has helped me a lot because initially, you see the title and you think it's about being rich or gathering wealth. But once you get into the book, you realize this book is all about thinking, setting goals, and achieving goals. It's all about working with people, and how do you get people, to work with you and like you, how to become more likable. One of the trainings that I do is we call it the STAR presentation, and it's these little things that we teach. When you put together, you get a finished product that looks like me. I wasn't always like this. So this STAR presentation, it's kind of generalized, but it talks about the 4 personality types that you're likely to encounter when you're working with people. The first, and STAR is an acronym. It means structured, somebody who's structured. T is for technical or theoretical. A is for action. Chuchu is technical. And then A is for action.
No, I'm looking at
R is for relationship. Huh?
I'm looking
What's
the
that?
book up as we speak. I'm looking the book.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it grows.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
powerful
get
book.
it.
It changed my whole
Get it on
mindset.
Audible. I do audio reading now because I realized that I could be driving and listening to good books,
Yeah.
as opposed to it was a bit of a transition for me because I was used to paper books. I needed to have something in my hands, but it takes time. It takes too much time
Yeah.
to go through
Yeah.
books with all I have going on. But with audiobooks, I could be doing anything and listening to the book, and you still get the information. So going back to
The STAR method.
yeah, okay, the star method. Let me talk about that a little bit. So some of us and all of us probably have all four traits in us, but one is always dominant. Okay. Now, if you're
So
dealing with
can you
somebody and
elaborate on
you
what they
really
were again? Because you didn't finish that. Can you tell the STAR, the S is for, and then we can go on with that.
oh,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
excellent. X is for somebody who's structured. Okay.
Structured, yeah.
That person will log on to your show and say, wait a minute, this show didn't start at 12 o'clock. It started at 12:05. That's what they think. Structured people have to have things in order. They like that. Okay. They like proper titles and all of that kind of stuff. If I'm putting my name up here, I'm gonna put probably my degrees and stuff behind it. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And structured people can stand for things not to seem organized, or for people to start late, or to run overtime. And then you have technical people that question everything. Okay. Now, I used to be a very technical person, meaning that I always wanted to know the why behind the why. Okay. And you say Chuchu is technical. I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe he's not. But yeah, technical people. Another thing with technical people is that making a decision is difficult. You cannot convince a technical person in one meeting. You have to have a follow-up meeting because they have to go back and think about it and digest it. And so as I'm talking to you, I already know what you are. And I work with you according to what your star is. Even your kids, your spouse, they may not be the same star as you. And people keep clashing and clashing. You just have to understand the person. If somebody is action, they don't want you to waste time with too many details. Look, I get it. Let's get this thing started right now. And then the technical person is like, well, let me explain how the thing actually works. The guy's like, no, I get it. I pay $50 a month. I get this, right? Let's get started. Now,
okay.
Right.
So you see what I'm saying?
That would be me. Just give me the meat. Right.
Okay.
That would be me. I want the whole story. Just tell me how I'm going to make money, or tell me what this thing is going to do for me, and that's it. Right. Save the other thing. But another thing also you write about the structure thing. I have repeatedly told that people call me Chuchu, and they call me Honorable, and they call me Mr. Jones, and I'm like, call me Chuchu. Simple as that. And I'm just saying, people will not get that information. Just like you. In America, somebody can say, call me Bill. And you got to go by what somebody would like to be called, or somebody would have someone would like that. So I hope we do another whole show on that. I think you have a good sense of the profession.
I have a whole presentation
and what makes someone successful. I would love for you to come back with Dylan, of course, at this show, but to get how to succeed in a business, in a professional world, and something like that. So
I've done that presentation for different organizations that have nothing to do with financial services, because it's just one of those things when you're dealing with people. And Willie, I'll just talk on the last one, is relationship. The R is for relationship.
What is the A for? I think I missed that. The A. What is the A
is for action.
Action.
They like things
yeah. Some people are action. Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You got an action person behind you in traffic. They're honking the honk. Get out of my way. Why are you driving so slow?
Let's
Why
get
did you
it done.
stop?
Yeah.
Move, let me go. You know.
Yeah.
Now, the last one is relationship.
All
Uh,
right.
a relationship person is somebody that they want peace. Okay,
Mm.
they want
Mm.
everybody to get along. They will bring people together. They will judge
Mm.
palava.
Like your
They
grandma,
like,
like your grandma. They can
yeah,
pull people
yeah. Your
together. People
grandma is
trust them.
relationship.
Hmm.
People trust
Some
them
people
a
like that.
lot. They like animals. They
Mm.
like nonprofit work. They like to
Yeah.
save the planet. Don't go
Okay.
talk to that person about money. You lose them right away. Yeah, they're not interested
Yeah.
in money. They're
Yeah. That's
interested
true.
in an impact they can make to society. They are part of many different organizations which they give up their time for free. So you got to understand. By the way, if
Mm.
you're setting up an organization,
Mhm.
Chuchu, you better have all four of those personalities in your organization. Otherwise, it won't work.
In fact,
If you have
I
all
would say
action people, if you have
another way
all
to look
action
at
people,
it.
oh, okay, go ahead.
I was going to say another way to look at it is you have to understand the motivations of people, right?
Yeah,
So if once you understand the motivations, which is tied to their personality, then
yeah,
you can make things work. You can get the overall aim accomplished of the organization. Yeah, so that's good.
absolutely, Willie.
Yeah,
That's another
and I
layer
know.
is their why. You got to understand their why, because it drives, what they're trying to achieve. So you get the star down pack. You know that you need somebody who is structured on your team, because if you don't have that structured person, nothing is gonna nothing's gonna start on time. You're not gonna have
Yeah,
the program done well. You need that person. You need somebody who's technical. You know, technical
yeah,
people, they get a new financial product booklet, they will read the whole thing because they
yeah,
want to understand how the whole thing works. How are you gonna survive? You don't have somebody like that. You can't do it.
yeah.
You have a team with all action people, you have no team, because action people can blow everybody away. I don't care.
You shoot
So
from the
you
hip
see
all the
how
time.
you shoot from the hip, you have only relationship people on your team, nothing will get done, because
No.
relationship people, they're not driven like that. So
Mm.
so that's why you should have all of it, and I'll be happy to do a whole presentation on that at another time. Absolutely.
Yes, please. I know we specific today on the insurance thing, but I think you offer a lot. I know that you're also the president of the Atlanta community, right? So you have a lot of
No,
leadership
no, I'm
skills,
not.
which you don't talk about a
That,
lot. Okay,
that's
what are
actually my
you?
brother.
You used to be, or are you?
we're, we're
Oh, that's your
twins.
brother.
That's my brother.
Okay, your twin
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah, I'm a
Oh
twin,
wow, because I
identical.
saw it and I'm like, okay. Oh, all right, wonderful. You got to bring him too on the show. Please
Okay.
invite him. I mean, like I said, you're part of the Business and Economic Forum, and what we're doing, just for the audience, we are trying to get Liberian professionals to start
Hmm.
talking and networking with each other. That's the vision of
Yeah.
this, so that
Yeah.
tomorrow, or even how we can build the country, if we don't even get along in America. They're not doing their own thing.
Yeah.
I'm doing my own thing. You're doing your own thing, but we don't even know each other. And it's a,
Mm.
a big part of nation building is for people, like you say, the relationship, to build the relationship so that
Yeah.
when the time is where we start to work together, we know exactly who can do what, who's the relationship person, who's the action person, and we can build a better nation. So that's what we did this show with this club, the Liberian Business and Economic Forum, to at least get the people in the financial industry, Liberians all around the world, to come on, share the idea, the knowledge we learn from each other, and so forth. So thank you for being very much part of it. One last question. I don't know, this guy called Patrick Ben Davis. Ben Davis. He's
Yeah.
an
Patrick
insurance.
Bet David.
I watch
Yeah.
him all the time. An amazing guy. and he started
Yeah.
in insurance, life insurance. This guy is worth over $200 million today. He has
Yeah.
a big business. So I just wanted to, yeah. I think
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
question.
I follow Patrick Bet-David as well. He's a titan in the insurance industry. You remember when I talked about some people, and I think we have a question that popped up. I don't know if I should address it
Yeah, yeah.
from James Jensen, but just to quickly address that, yeah, Patrick Bet-David is somebody who focused on building an industry, building a big company, and that's
Right.
why his income is up there. You could have somebody just wanting to just be an insurance agent, and you could make $150,000, $200,000, depending on how experienced you are. But Patrick Bet-David, what did you say he's worth? 200 million.
200
Okay,
million.
okay, he's in all 50 states more than likely, and he
Right.
probably has about 10,000 agents.
Right.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Well,
Yeah,
he was
and
a
he has,
poor guy. He came to America with nothing. I think he's from
yeah,
Iran or somewhere. So I
Iran,
mean,
yeah.
that's a possibility because most times Liberians can't think big. There's a big boss on the internet today. How one of the aspiring said, "I will build airplanes in Liberia, or will have an airplane, maintenance," and everybody's freaking out. And everybody, oh, that's not gonna happen. I said they're doing the thing in Rwanda. They're doing Air Burkina. We used to do the thing in Liberia during wastewater days when we had airplanes there. There were airplane mechanics.
Yeah.
So sometimes, we limit ourselves to the point where,
Wow.
yeah, right, that we have to think big.
Something just came to my mind. There's a book, The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. Read
Okay.
that book. It's exactly what you're saying. You got to think big. You can't keep thinking small. Your capacity is way beyond what you think it is, I see James is asking a lot of questions. Should we address those?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, the first one he asked, which is not showing at the moment, was about trust. Is there reason for people to distrust insurance companies? And then the second one is visible, as you see. Or why is there reason for people to trust insurance companies?
I personally don't think there's a reason to distrust the insurance company. There is some degree of distrust, but that could be based on maybe not understanding fully how the insurance policy works. One of the things that I see a lot is people answering questions. I wouldn't say wrong, or maybe not giving all the information when they get an insurance policy. For instance, they'll ask you a lot of health questions. If you withhold a very pertinent health piece of information because you want to get approved for this policy at a good rate class, and something happens to you within the first 2 years, most companies do what they call they contest it. That means they're going to pull your medical records and look at everything, usually within the first 2 years. After 2 years, you're practically home free. But imagine now you get something set up for your family member and they die within. I've had that experience with one of my clients, where the person dies within 2 years, and the company just does a routine check, and they say, "Oh, you didn't tell us about this cancer, or you didn't tell us about this severe diabetes or whatever." Then they do not give you the money, and then you're like, "Oh my God, these insurance company, they make you pay," and then time comes, they don't give you them. They'll give you your premium back. Usually they'll give it to you back plus 10%, but you're thinking about getting 100, 200,000, and they're like, "No, you withheld something from us." You see, but after that 2-year period, then they don't even check. They just basically write you a check, right?
Is that the free look?
So that's one of the things. Yeah. No. The free look is like usually about 10 days after you receive the policy to go over it before you make your final decision. Wow, James has a lot of questions. He may need to reach out.
James.
Liability for
All
my
right.
income is not good for full coverage. Liability is my insurance. I'm going to have an accident. My car is damaged. Oh, okay. So this is auto insurance.
Yeah,
And
that's different.
I partner with some professionals who specialize in auto and home insurance, and I can definitely get something like this. James, if you want to give me a call or text me, my number I believe is on the bottom of the screen. I'll be more than happy to go over some stuff with you and maybe refer you to some good people. I don't know. Do you see what the second question was, Willie?
Yeah. So the second question was it had to do with insurance company finding reason to not pay, and also if there are any racial disparities when it comes to payments in the industry. So
Do they find reasons not to pay settlements, and is there any racial
yeah,
disparities?
it says
No,
here.
there's no racial
I'll read it.
disparities.
I'll read it out to you. I'll read it out to you specifically. He says, "Do insurance companies find reasons not to pay settlement, and is there a racial disparity in that?"
No, it's just like what I explained earlier. They're not finding a reason not to pay a settlement, but I mean, they're out of pocket for whatever your death benefit is, and it's a huge blow to them if you withheld something pertinent or vital when you got the policy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they're not finding a reason not to pay, but they just have to do their due diligence. So you have to be as honest as possible when you're filling out the application. Usually they'll do medical exam anyway, but they may not find everything. So it's good to be as honest as possible.
Yeah.
Can we
Okay.
push for a
Yeah.
law
So
for our insurance
Right.
clients
so
who
that
have
that's something that we have to stress. If you're an agent, you have to stress, that everything is
integrity?
disclosed from the beginning. Yeah. Well, on both parts, on both
Integrity.
sides, integrity on the
Yeah.
agent, but also integrity on the person as well. And
Yes.
I used to sell insurance in the past, and I had a situation that occurred once where I got a policy for my barber. He's cutting my hair. I told him about it. He's like, "Oh, it's great. Let's do it." So I signed him up, and they asked questions about his medical history in the past, and he said no. He didn't have any maladies or any ailments, and so they went to do the policy, and then they got rejected. And so, I came back and I told him, "Hey, you didn't get the policy because it was rejected." So he wanted to know why. So when we went into it, we found out that, it wasn't, when he talk about medical ailments, they're not only talking about physical ailments, it could be mental ailments as well. So he was diagnosed with, as being schizophrenic earlier in his life. And that caused, the policy to not be issued. So, I mean, you have to disclose all of the information. And maybe I would say on my part, maybe I didn't tell you that, okay, when we talk about illness, we're not only talking about physical illness, we're talking about mental illness too. Have you ever had any episodes or anything that could be considered, an ailment that, could lead to you not getting the policy? Maybe I was not that clear, but that led to him not getting the policy. So, integrity is on both ends, and everyone has to be on full disclosure. Just me adding to that.
Yeah,
Bobby, I got a
absolutely.
question. Bobby, I have a
Yes.
question for you. We know that we do have insurance in Liberia, companies, insurance companies. What is your understanding of it, and do you have any plans to try to get that industry up and running, working with different parties, to see if Liberians, because this is a good way of creating wealth. A lot of times people die in Liberia, they are the breadwinner, and their kids have nothing to survive on. In fact, I was asking once upon a time, I said, why do people? I mean, everyone handles grief differently, but I noticed that in Africa, it's more visible. You know,
You
you go
cry
to
more.
you go to a wet funeral, and the person's spouse will be dead, and it will be, they will tap their eyes, and But in Africa, people be rolling like they're rolling the grave. So somebody told me, one puppet told me, he said, "Look, that person who died is this person who knows source of income." That's how we're going to grave. So, what are your plans? And what are you doing to help mitigate that situation where we have policies at a very low cost, that people can benefit, students and just the average Liberian?
Well, thank you very much. That's a very good question. There are a lot of components to assess successful life insurance scheme. Okay, in any country, one of the biggest things, and Dylan would probably, and you too, because you come from the banking industry, but it's the stability of your currency. Okay, how much is your currency? Life insurance is long term. Is long term. That's why if you have a visitor, like a student visa, it's difficult to get life insurance here because they figure that, okay, you're not here long term, or if you don't have some type of permanent green card or something. Now, some insurance companies will offer you a policy if you don't have a social whatever, but they also look at how long you've been here and how established you are here. You got kids, you got a house. Okay, we may consider that. Now, when it comes to long term, if you think about Liberia, if you had started a policy back in 1980, what would the value of your policy be worth in 2023? Think about that.
Let me give you a personal. Let me give you a personal incident. Right, someone in my family. Right? Someone in my family. I'm not gonna go and be more specific, but someone in my family had their spouse that died back in 1986. Right, and at the time the currency was 1-to-1 in Liberia, so they paid him out $100,000. Right, but the spouse that survived was not really in immediate need for the funds because they had other assets. The other person was still employed, so they felt, okay, I'm going to keep this for the children that we have, right? So they placed the money in the bank. Eventually, they traveled. They left the money in the bank, and by the mid '90s, they went back to Liberia for the same 50,000 that was in the bank. But the same 100,000 that was in the bank. And by then, that 100,000 was equivalent to 1,000 United States dollars. So
Bingo.
Inflation, the inflation that we experienced in that time frame, that person lost 90% or more than 90%. 90% would have been 90,000, and then they only had 10,000 left. Almost 99%
and not only Liberia,
of the value of that currency. Of that amount.
Yeah,
so,
not only Liberia. I've had people from almost every country. I had a Nigerian tell me the exact same thing. His was an insurance policy that he was paying, and after a while, it just didn't make sense anymore because I'm thinking that 100,000 naira is worth some good money back then, and I'm paying. Let's say I'm paying $50 a month. Then you go to 100,000 naira and nothing. You still paying $50.
$50. Come on, you know. So
So I say that to the presidential aspirant because there are a lot of things in Liberia that need to be fixed. I always tell people it's difficult to fix one component, whereas everything else is still the way it is. Okay, but it is something that I think financial services in general, financial literacy and education is still important, and that's something that can help Liberia. In fact, I'm gonna make contact with some insurance agents in Liberia because there are insurance companies in Liberia. Okay, I know at the International Bank, IB Bank, I think they have a life insurance company component. Affordable. That's based on the volume of people that participate. That's why you have insurance at your job that's cheap, right? Because we have a lot of people that are getting that life insurance plan, so it's the cheapest. Getting Another thing that they look at, Chuchu, with the insurance is mortality. What is the
Yeah,
life
yeah.
expectancy of the people that we're covering?
Mhm.
Liberia is very low. I think Liberia is probably less than 60 years old.
You're right, around there.
Now, yeah. Now, when you talk about insurance and you have a population that's dying at 55, 60, come on now. That you can't expect that to be cheap. It's
No.
going to be more expensive because people are going to be drawing on this money very quickly. Also,
Yeah.
people the healthcare rating. I'll give you an example here. If you're getting a life insurance policy here and you plan to travel abroad,
So, mhm.
like to Liberia, West Africa, most insurance company may likely put that insurance policy on hold. They will not approve it for you until you go and come back.
Wow.
Liberia is a E-rated country when it comes to healthcare. When
Mm,
insurance companies evaluate A, B, C, D, E. I think
wow.
Ghana is
So,
like a D-rated country. That
so in
means
other
people can
words,
die at any time, and if there's, as far as they're concerned, there's no healthcare. That's
And you
basically
know,
it.
this is very important, and you got to come back
yeah,
because
yeah.
most people think that when we say we're doing better,
Hmm.
that because you see electricity, you
Yeah.
see
Small
little
running
things
water.
happening. They don't understand these things, and especially the journalists, they don't even know what question to ask. Like, what is your healthcare plan for Liberia? You understand?
Mm,
How do you intend to get the mortality rate up?
Yep.
So hopefully you can come back, and hopefully we can invite some other aspirants on the business and economic
Okay.
forum where you can be able to ask these
yeah,
questions that
yeah,
is really
Okay.
pertinent to growth and development.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's because of
Because
the ignorance of some of the journalists just don't know what question to ask a presidential aspirant. But thank you for bringing that point because
but
we
to
do
his
have a national healthcare plan. Come on, let me put my pitch in here, Dilla. I do have a healthcare from cradle to grave. Everybody in Liberia will have an insurance policy. The premium will be subsidized by the government to help the insurance company, and that's the way you can bring down the poverty. That everyone is insured, even it means the government paying a portion or all of the premium for certain age group and certain income status. So I think
I
you
love it.
all
I
right.
love it. That sounds pretty amazing, man.
and it will be done by all Liberian companies. So we make a huge investment into Liberian insurance companies, so that the wealth stays into the country rather than, once we start paying the premium, of course, then foreign companies will want to kind of Nigerian companies. No, we want Liberian to be the owners of those companies. And the investors, which will tie into our retirement plan and 401k plan, because this
Okay.
seems in annuity plan. So hopefully, I guess a good campaign contribution for you in the coming months, because you will be making some money there. What about president?
All right.
And
Thank you. Thank
and
you.
and and I want to commend you also, Borby, just for that perspective. That's something that I haven't heard, discussed in other places. Just the living standard of the people in the country determines even the wealth of the country over time. How well different industries thrive within the economy. Because if we can lift the living standard of our people, yeah, we get better insurance companies, we get better financial industry, we get better, industrial development. Because these people live longer, they work harder, they're not in the hospital all the time or dying at early ages. So the productivity of the entire country improves. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said,
Yeah.
I've never thought about it from that perspective. And you're an insurance man, so you're showing us now how the way the country is now, right? It impacts the overall economy of the entire country. Whether you're talking about the insurance industry, what are you talking about? Whatever industry, it impacts it. So
Yeah.
we have an incentive as Liberians to make our country better, because by making it better, you see, the rising tides raises all
Oh, both.
boats. So by us raising the standard of living for our people and the way our people live, we all benefit from it. Whether you're in the upper echelon or the lower echelon, whether you're a businessman or you're just a cab driver, everybody benefits. So I like that, and just want to tell you thank you for that. And at this point in time, we are running short on time. But it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. You always bring a fresh perspective, and you always show us things from a perspective that we typically don't see. That's why, again, I'd like to tell you thank you. And Chuchu, whatever you have to say.
No, actually, I mean, I can't add anything to that. Your wealth of information, except the fact that many Liberians, we don't have expertise. We think that because somebody has MBA, they understand insurance, they understand, all these things. So thank you for coming. Anytime we have these questions, that you are the expert, and we rely on you for that knowledge and information. Bobby.
Okay, so any closing comments?
Absolutely.
Any closing comments, Bobby?
Yeah. I mean, I think my phone number is on there, my email. If anybody wants to reach out with any questions, I'll be happy to address them as best I can. I mean, in closing, I would just put it out there that I think this industry is a very good industry. Coming from, growing up in Liberia and coming to America, sometimes it can be challenging getting into America's corporate America. And even if you get in, attaining a certain level could be difficult. You might want to consider starting your own business. And one of the easiest and cheapest businesses to get into is life insurance. Quite frankly, the barrier of entry is very low. Many people come from Liberia and other parts of Africa and the world, and you have a lot of education and skill sets, but you're just not given the opportunity. There's a glass ceiling. Maybe they don't understand your accent too well. Maybe they don't value your University of Liberia or Don Bosco Polytechnic degree, or AME University. But hey, you don't need all that. You can just get a life insurance policy and start making money. If you have those skills, you'll be able to build your company up the way you want to do it. I talk to a lot of people who get involved in many different types of businesses, especially import, export, and different things. And I ask them, how much does it cost to get in? And the minimum is like $5,000.
Yeah.
It costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of time. You have to be out of your house. You have to be here, there. Gas prices going up. I don't even care about gas prices because I can just sit at home and I can just work.
Mm-hmm.
And I take my laptop or my tablet with me anywhere when I travel on vacation. I might do a deal or two that will even pay for the whole vacation.
Yeah.
I work for myself. I can meet with somebody at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, whenever I want to meet with them. So it gives you that level of freedom as well. And most of all, I'm not working for a bank where everything belongs to the bank, Chuchu. I'm working for myself where business goes to my wife or my kids.
Right.
Does that make sense? So I'm not wasting my time building somebody else's dream when I could be building my own dream. So I would just end on that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And that is amazing. Mr. Borpi Bople. This man is he's an insurance agent. He has an agency of several agents that work under him. This is a businessman, and we're having the show today talking about being your own boss. What it takes to make it in the insurance industry, and he's given us the keys to succeed in not only in the insurance industry, but these same keys can be applied to business as a whole. So I just want to tell you thank you once again for coming on the show. I want to thank my host, Mr. Chuchu Alex Jones, for your tough questions, and just want to welcome you back at any time, Mr. Bople, and I just want to tell everyone out there in radio and TV land, thank you for joining us today. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.